All right, so we're going to talk about the Protestant Reformation now and what I like to call a big super twist, okay? There was a big super twist at this point. All right, so we talked about the Protestant Reformation before, but we're going to go through it again here. So the Catholic Church authority. So this is where we're going to talk about the church more. In the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church was the cultural, intellectual, and political power of the center of Europe. Okay, so we talked about that already. The church was in charge of everything in the Middle Ages. Monarchs were crowned by the Pope. Most of the art and music was about Christianity and paid for by the church. And the church was the source of all knowledge. That's how it was. It was this way. Okay. The Bible, which was the source of the Catholic Church's power and knowledge, was only written in Latin, a language that very few people outside the clergy knew. Educated members of the church, that's what the clergy was. And they were the only ones that could read it. So priests interpreted the Bible for everyone, not for everyone else, and told them what it said and what they should do and how they should act. All right, so this is how it was before. Now the Protestant Reformation happens. Remember, we have the printing press is created, which makes things able to be printed quicker and faster, and that's part of it. The Protestant Reformation questions the Catholic Church. The Protestant Reformation changed all of that. In 1517, a Catholic monk named Martin Luther started the Protestant Reformation by writing, publishing, and distributing his critics of the church's selling of indulgences called the 95 Theses. How did he do this? How did he print and how did he do all this? Print, publish, and write and distribute? The printing press, okay? All right. And remember, indulgences was that idea that people could pay for forgiveness. Okay. You got it. Forgiveness. Okay. So let's go to the next slide now. Whoops. All right. So the Protestant Reformation super twist continued here. Okay. So Martin Luther believed that the only true word of God was the Bible and that people did not need a pope, bishops, or priests to interpret it for them. He felt that the Catholic Church had corrupted what the Bible actually said and that the selling of indulgences was just one example. Okay, so it was corrupt. Indulgences were a piece of papers issued by the Catholic Church that forgave sins. We just talked about that in the last slide. In response, Luther had the Bible printed in languages that most people spoke and created a new church called the Lutheran Church. Most people spoke. That's called the vernacular, right? All right. And again, he did this through the printing press. This was the big thing there, the printing press. Okay. Okay. Later, many other Protestant churches were created by other leaders of the Reformation. Many monarchs, especially in Northern Europe, converted to Protestant religions as a way of freeing themselves from the power of the Catholic Church held over them since the Middle Ages. So this is just showing right here, this little chart here. Okay. This is just showing that from the 300s until about the early 1500s, there was one Catholic Church, right? This is obviously not counting the Eastern Orthodox Church. And then after the Protestant Reformation, you had the Lutherans, you had the Calvinists, you had the Anabaptists, you had a lot of other ones. The Evangelical Church came from this, Episcopalians. I mean, there are so many different churches that came from the Protestant Reformation, okay? All right, so let's answer the questions now. We have monarchs, clergy, nobles, and peasants. So how did life change for all these people? Okay. So peasants now were able to read the Bible, right? I'm not going to give you answers, but they could read the Bible. Okay. Monarchs, you would think that since the Catholic Church was struggling, okay, you would think since they're struggling, the monarchs would struggle too, but they weren't. They weren't struggling. Why weren't they struggling? Because they also left the church. They could have more power. They weren't tied to them. This connection was broken. All right. And the nobles, think about that. How are they doing too? Okay. All right. Answer those and we'll go to the last slide.